KREM 2 News 10 at 10 begins now with Mark Henrahan and Jeremy Legoo.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. Let's get started. A sawmill out of Spokane Valley in the hot seat tonight, facing thousands of dollars in fines for health and safety violations. KREM 2's Connor McAvoy joining us live in the newsroom tonight with details on the citations and how the mill is responding tonight. Connor?
Well, according to the Washington State Department of Labor and Industries, multiple safety and health violations were found at the Fox Lumber Sales location in Spokane Valley during an inspection that add up to more than $100,000. I managed to reach out to the director of operations for Fox Lumber on the matter, and he tells me the sawmill will be appealing the citations and fines. Since opening their location in Spokane Valley in January, Fox Lumber's had 2 fires at the location. One was a spark that flipped into a wall, put out with a fire extinguisher. Another occurred when staff was repairing a piece of equipment.
And they weren't sure if they had a spark go into our dust collection, which could fester, and if it lit up later on, could have caused a lot of problems.
Now, LNI is reporting more safety concerns with 61 violations concerning that and the health of staff, exceeding $126,000. The report says sawdust has been found up to 5 inches deep across the facility, saying the amount near space heaters present a fire hazard. The report also says the site is subject to unprotected machinery, potential falling hazards, and a perceived lack of worker training.
So there's some things that we are not sure that their investigator is right on.
Director of Operations for Fox Lumber, Quentin Abaddale, says Fox Lumber will be appealing the citations and fines. He says one reason being a small lumber remanner known as Snow Peak operated at that location for 25 years before Fox Lumber moved to that location.
And it seemed that they were pretty adequate. So since we hadn't made many changes, I think those measures, their safety measures, were still pretty adequate. Now, can they be improved? Almost always you can find a way to improve it, and we are interested in that.
We reached out to Dina Lorraine with LNI Public Affairs to comment, but have not heard back. Any collected fines will contribute to the Washington Workers' Pension Fund, going towards any workers and their families who are affected by the conditions of the sawmill. In the newsroom, Connor McAvoy, KREM 2 News.
Connor, thank you very much. New tonight, crews are working to clean up a diesel spill on the Columbia River after a train derailed. According to the Washington Department of Ecology, it happened just outside the Tri-Cities. They say more than 600 gallons of diesel spilled into the river after the derailment. Crews are working to contain the spill and tracking its spread down the river tonight. The man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students expected to appear in an Ada County courtroom coming up tomorrow. According to newly filed court documents, the court will discuss the death penalty amongst other motions surrounding the case against Bryan Kohberger. A judge granted Kohberger's attorney's request to move his trial out of Latah County about a month ago, citing concerns about the suspect's ability to receive a fair trial. That hearing is expected to start at 8:30 Mountain Time. Meantime, the Idaho Department of Corrections received an order to stay the execution of Thomas Creech. A federal judge from U.S. District Court granted a motion to delay the execution. It was scheduled for next week after Creech's botched lethal injection back in February. His attorneys filed an appeal claiming a second attempt would be cruel and unusual. That appeal was denied by the Idaho courts as well as the state Supreme Court. So now both sides are preparing their arguments on what should happen next. Those must be submitted by November 29th. All right, looking ahead, exciting news for skiers and boarders. Lookout Pass ski area set to open this Friday. The resort says most of the trails on the front side of the mountain will be open. Lookout says they'll expand operations and open more lifts this weekend. On that note, let's take a first look at the forecast with Chief Meteorologist Jeremy Legoo. Jeremy, generally the goal for local resorts is to open the weekend after Thanksgiving, so this is certainly early.
Yeah, 49 sent out an email as well saying, hey, stand by, it's happening soon. Schweitzer's opening date is projected to be November 22nd, so almost a full week and a day or less than a week before Thanksgiving. But either way, still pretty cool. We're piling up the snow in those higher elevations, and that is good stuff. We sit at 34 degrees here in Spokane right now. Whew. 34, quite chilly. I just checked all around the region. There's a little bit of fog starting to form down in the Palouse. Just be on the lookout. It's likely going to be another foggy morning tomorrow. High pressure overhead and not much going on means temperatures are going to drop. We're back in the 20s overnight. Tomorrow afternoon, we top out in the mid to upper 40s, couple 50s dotted in there, but it's likely we wake up to a round of patchy fog once again. Friday, mostly sunny and 50s. Saturday, I think clouds take over ahead of our next round of rain. Right now, it's starting to look a little more like Saturday winds up dry, and Sunday brings our best chance of rain.
Now I know folks are feeling and experiencing a range of emotions right now. I get it. But we accept the results of this election.
Vice President Kamala Harris officially conceding the presidential race today. The former and soon-to-be again President Donald Trump defied expectations and swept every battleground state that has already been decided. Trump spoke late last night about his comeback.
America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate.
Trump has said beginning on day one, he'll begin the mass deportation of people living in the U.S. illegally. He plans to end the wars in Ukraine and Gaza, he says. And he also says he wants to impose tariffs of 10 to 20% on all goods not made in America. And locally, we got a new drop of ballots from the Spokane County Elections Office today. So let's take a look at some of the closest uncalled races at this hour. We are keeping a close eye on the race for Washington's 4th Congressional District. 2 Republicans are vying for that seat, and it remains too close to call. Incumbent Dan Newhouse had a slight lead over Jared Sessler after initial returns. That is still holding tonight. Newhouse, by the way, has been under attack by former President Trump after the congressman voted to impeach Trump following the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Next is Initiative 2066. This was a tight race with a majority of voters voting yes. If passed, it would block state and local governments from restricting access to natural gas. Right now, there is a state law which impacts only Puget Sound Energy in the Seattle area. The 3 other statewide initiatives were rejected by voters. Right now, Republican Spokane County Commissioner Al French is neck and neck with his Democratic opponent Molly Marshall. You can see the results right there. French leading by just about 2 percentage points at this hour. Meantime, Eastern Washington has selected Republican Michael Baumgartner to represent them in Congress. The AP officially called this race earlier this afternoon. Baumgartner will take Washington's 5th Congressional District, held for 20 years by Congresswoman Kathy McMorris Rogers, who decided to retire. Baumgartner spoke to KREM 2 last night about his message to Eastern Washington voters.
If you voted for me, I'm your congressman, and if you didn't vote for me, I'm your congressman.
Michael Baumgartner will be joining us tomorrow morning on Up with KREM. We hope you'll join us for that interview at 7:15 tomorrow morning. We want to tell you now about a story that you'll only see on KREM 2 News tomorrow. When a family lost their teenage son unexpectedly, they were drowning in grief. They feared people would not remember his name or know his beautiful heart. The Edge family from Cheney decided to take their heartbreak and do good in the world, something their son Eric would have loved.
He was my sunshine. He just had a light that just would transform any room.
Sarah had the great idea of, why don't we take all these funds that people are donating and develop a well in a country and it be dedicated in Eric's name.
Family and friends known as the Edge Army are raising funds to build wells around the world, all in the name of Eric Edge. It's a story about great love, loss, and sacrifice, and encouraging people to live their best life by helping others. So join us tomorrow for a story you'll only see on KREM 2 News at 6. And that was your KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where you get more news in less time.